Pause. I think it's the fastest opener I've ever done.
Pretty close. 40 seconds.
Yeah. I got 41 seconds, but
Well,
um,
basically. I mean, it's 40.72. So,
I
I
got
mean,
41.18.
so that's literally the
It's
difference
like the,
in the time of hitting the
right,
button.
right. It's the difference in the button press.
That's it's like trying to stop it. You remember in like arcades and stuff, there's always that thing you put a token in and it's a light going around in a circle.
Right.
And on like 4 points there was a jackpot thing. And if you were to stop the light on the
hmm
jackpot thing, like that you would win like all of the tickets and all of the land.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
but you
that.
could never hit it
You could
on that.
never do it.
No.
And I think, if I remember correctly, I feel like I remember watching a video of somebody breaking down carnival games, and that was one of them. And
Yeah.
it was actively rigged to a random delay timer.
Yeah.
So you couldn't, even if you knew you had it perfect, which believe me, I knew there was a bunch of times where I knew I got it, that that would still the random timer would offset it, which makes a lot of sense as an adult.
right.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and you have decided for whatever reason to tune into another horrible gaming podcast. But I am not alone, nor am I ever. With me is...
Neil, aka Tiny Wizard.
Now, before we get into the show itself, which who knows what that's going to be, we got to give a couple of credits. Number one, if you're watching this on YouTube, behind the fancy timestamps, you're seeing fancy graphics. Those fancy graphics were provided to us by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. The theme song for this show and all shows here at Old Man Gaming are provided by the man who makes the music, my brother, Nick Van Siders, and we thank him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first topic, probably our most important topic, and that is Fanteraction. That's where we, the hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. We read your comments from all the places. And like I said, going to be giving this disclaimer for a while, just because of everything. Our recording schedule has had to change in light of recent events. Neil. And and we are recording on Thursday nights. Obviously, this only gives you 24 hours less than to post anything in the comments that we can read. This does not mean you should not post. Please still post. We will just get to them when we get to them. I'm making notes. I'm keeping track so that if I miss it in that big 5-day in between, I'll read it off on the next one. With that said, William Hohen commented on our last podcast, two podcasts ago, and he says, "Hi, yeah, don't worry, no offense taken, nor there will ever be offended if you miss a comment. I'm not that childish. Winky face." I really like the winky face there. Also, be as mad at gaming as you want. I feel the same. I miss the 90s and early 2000s. Those were the days. I
Yes, they
never
were.
I never heard of Ultima Online. Neil, oh my fucking god, Neil. The foundation of graphical MMO RPGs, the game that created the term MMO, Neil, SMH.
Meh.
And no, not meh. That's wrong. You are a journalist now. You're a gaming journalist. You need to know about stuff like that.
Well,
That
you
is
use the term
unforgivable.
journalist real loosely.
I'm sorry.
There, don't
We have a show. We have a video game news show. You have to know the big ones. That's a cardinal sin, my friend. I cannot let that go. Continuing his post. As for remasters, I want Persona 3 remaster. It's pretty much my favorite JRPG of all time. I never got into the Persona games, honestly. Have you ever played the Personas?
No, because I have heard that they are massive time sinks, and I do not have the time for this.
That's fair. That's fair. He said, I loved, all caps, Bloodstained. Played it many, many times. It did not resonate with me, but that's totally fine. The reason Konami does not make games is because they are making more money in slot machines. Now, William, this is true. This is 100% true. However, it's also stupid in Konami's part because they don't have to make the game. They can license out the product to tons of thousands of hungry game developers that would love to take a crack at one of these properties that they have. Rent out Contra, rent out Castlevania, rent out these fucking properties. They don't have to make it. They can keep making their junk slot machines and making the money off that, but then they get this extra bankroll if they let like some other company make it, man. That's what I'm saying. So you are right, but at the same time, it's still a mistake on Konami's part. That photo mode is disgusting, speaking on the Horizon locking their photo mode behind a paywall. And not only should we not buy that crap, it should be mocked by everyone everywhere. William, we're becoming fast friends. I detect a kindred spirit in you, sir. He then says, great show, though. Thanks. And see you next week. I think he's auditioning for when I finally fire you. Did you laugh at that? Because you cut out for a second. I wanted you to laugh at that. If you didn't laugh at that, that would have made that real awkward.
No, I absolutely did. I think I need to turn off Discord's like noise screening or whatever. Because there's been many times where I make sounds.
Okay, so now jumping into the fan traction from last week. Going with newest first, if I can find that setting, I can. Okay. I'm sorry, going with oldest first. First and foremost, we had Danny Wharton, Danny from Britain. You guys can check out Danny on her Twitch, Rain Dance Danny. She is a fine streamer. She's making quite a name for herself. I urge you to go check her out. She said, I read it as fat interaction. And I didn't even question it. I am also so tired. To which I responded, fat interaction would also be an awesome segment. I don't know what that would be. Would that be just us talking about pies or cakes for 10 minutes?
Yes, I do believe it would be.
We need to make fatter action happen. Everybody on the next show, just comment things about disgusting foods that you enjoy eating, so we can just talk about foods. It'll be fatter action. Then Kev Too Tall, get with the program. Sheesh. I don't know what he referred to there. I mean, I'm sure it's something I did wrong, but I don't know what he meant there. Get with the program. Sheesh.
Could have been me. Who knows?
Who knows? Jason is directly referring to the moment where you stepped off mic to murder a spider. He says spiders are actually fragments of the primal evil that preceded Satan. Size of a quarter, though? Tiny spider, dude.
No, any spider is too big of a spider.
I will agree with that. I'll take spiders out. And what's weird? If you've never played Grounded, Grounded will make you more afraid of spiders than you used to be. Like, I'm the designated spider killer in my house, but I can't play Grounded anymore. Like, it gave me arachnophobia. Just the way they crawl up on you. I can't do it.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't deal with spiders. And
no.
By the way, the movie Arachnophobia is something that I have actively avoided my entire life.
Really? That's like a comedy.
Dude, I hear arachnophobia, I just hear spider. Like spider. Anything, I don't care.
Kev then says, Zach, good job on beating Alan Wake beginning to end. If you hadn't been clear, I could only assume you used somebody's game save. that was at the last save point. Fuck you, Kev. I beat that fucking game start to finish. Jason then says, Bayou Billy was basically Japan taking an Australian character, Crocodile Dundee, and setting him as an American. Then, when America released the game and comic, they fleshed him out a bit using American knowledge of America. You said America a lot in this paragraph. And changing things a bit toward that end. Parentheses like giving his girlfriend Daisy Dukes instead of a red cocktail dress because Louisiana Bayou. Okay, thanks, Jason. That's what I thought it was. When you had said it, I was like, is there really some sort of weird folk story that I had never heard of? But that's good. Jason's just being the professor. That's what he does. Jason then says, I hate announcement trailers. Ever since the SOD3 thing, the UL streams, Undead Lab streams, with the State of Decay 2 team, gets 1,000 questions about State of Decay 3, despite them explicitly saying State of Decay 3 is in pre-production. So I do want to talk about that for a sec, because Undead Labs has created one of my all-time favorite games, State of Decay 2. I still stream it. The fact that it's still in pre-production is, wait for it, bullshit. We should have never seen a trailer then. What was that trailer of? Why did we do that? What a waste of everybody's fucking time. And like you said, Jason, now the Undead Labs streams, because Undead Labs streams every week. They stream their stuff with important updates, but they also just do like featurettes and stuff like that. It's constantly like overrun with this questions about State of Decay 3, because they set that train in motion. Do not make a trailer for anything that's in pre-production. Don't make a trailer for anything that's in early production. Do not make a trailer for anything that is in mid-production. Only make a trailer for things that are in final production. And even that's a stretch. Personally, I think it should be fucking done. I think it should be done, ready to ship. And then you just say, hey, we got this game. Build it up for 2 months, then sell it. Like, that's how this should work. But the reason they do this is to set people on that hype train so that they can get pre-order sales, and that is just evil bullshit. You disagree on any of that?
No, not at all. It's I hope, given some of the more recent shows that we've seen, for the most part, here and there, it seems that there have been a lot of, there's trailer with either a release date or like something that's not too horribly far off. Of course, there's outliers. There's some that are like, 2023, or some that have no information attached to it other than just an announcement trailer.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you slightly. I gotta say, it is trending up that we are getting more gameplay and more release dates. But I mean, the last 3 shows off the bat, I can immediately quote announce trailers from them, and not just one, but 2. Like, that's ridiculous. There should be nothing that is shown to us that does not have a date or a promise of services rendered. The only thing they are doing by doing this is trying to drum up hype and capital for something that doesn't actually exist. That's a fucking Ponzi scheme. Like, that's what that is. It's like a pyramid scheme. It's like you're selling the idea of something to somebody, and that it just drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, I don't think we are ever going to see it go away completely.
I think we are.
I think
we are, because I think we've got a serious crash coming in the industry, which I think we're going to talk about in our talking point. But
I think what's happening is we have some who are conscientious of it. They are, making those moves, that concerted effort to like, hey, maybe we should rein it in a little bit, But again, there are some who just like they feed off the hype and just hype on hype on hype, and let's pre-orders the as fast as we possibly can. I actually had read.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue.
I had actually read an article the other day when talking about the Wolverine announcement at the Sony show.
Oh.
Sometimes those announcements aren't even for us. They're more so for potential, they are meant for hiring. Mm-hmm. So it's not even like an us thing. And if that's the case, I don't think I
But
don't think
that's
putting a
still
trailer out to get people to apply for a job is the way to do it because
right.
it's definitely aimed at a certain audience. But overall, I think that the problem is getting better, but it's never ever going to go away
I
completely.
think it'll go away completely because I think the gaming industry is going to crash. But we'll talk about that later. I do want to say another huge problem is personally, I don't think the Undead Labs State of Decay 3 trailer is actually Undead Labs' fault. The same way I don't think some of the other announced trailers are their faults. I think it's pressure from the companies that
Microsoft
own them.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
Microsoft, Sony, Square Enix, all these people. They're like, we need something to show people. We need something, and then they force them to make these trailers to announce games that aren't in production. I think I don't. I mean, it's more of that shit where they get pressure from it, and it's just created this entire seedy underbelly of the gaming world that's all about selling you something. And even just like you said, even if it's hiring, that's not the way to hire. That's not the way to
right.
drum up people for hiring. People aren't gonna. And the thing is who applying for the job is actually gonna get put on Wolverine? None of them. None of them. They're going to be doing post-production on Spider-Man 2 or a DLC or something like that. Like, it's all a fucking lie that's being sold to whoever is listening. And that is just, it's just so frustrating to me as a consumer. But,
Yeah, I
I,
I was just going to add one more thing to
yeah, go
this.
for it. We are going to
More
talk about this later.
more to your point about that, it's the parent companies are the ones who are really pushing for this sort of stuff. I mean, at the Sony show, we did not see it was skipped at E3 and now at the Sony show, both Final Fantasy
Yep.
16 and the Harry Potter, the Hogwarts Legacy game.
Uh-huh.
And if I remember correctly, they both already had release windows attached to them. I
And they
could be
both,
wrong on that.
and I don't know about 16, but I know Harry Potter has already been delayed by a year.
Right.
Because that was supposed to come out, I think, this year.
This year in November or something, I think.
So like it just creates this hang on problem mentality that's just very, very frustrating. I think announced trailers need to go, and I think if anybody who steps in, whether it be government, union, whatever, anybody who steps in to correct anything in this, I think if they look at it, that's one of the first and most evil parts of the industry on all sides. I think that creates a lot of problems for everybody. But we'll get into that later. Continuing, Jason asks, "Did you play Quantum Break or Control or Control?" I never played Quantum Break because the minute they said that half of it is a TV show, I was out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. If I want to watch a TV show, I'll watch a TV show. If I want to play a video game, I'll play a video game. I don't want to be like deep in a video game and having a lot of fun and then have to just sit and watch a TV show. It's just a completely different mood for me. I know a lot of other people did like it, but a lot of people didn't. For me, I was done. It needs to all be a game or all be a show. Control is a fucking masterclass, man. That game is amazing. They did some shitty shit afterwards with Control and like it's like
The upgrade.
the upgrade rates, the upgrade to new systems and stuff like that. They've done some real shitty shit with Control. It's made me a little bit unhappy with Remedy. But Control itself as a game was a masterclass. I enjoyed that game from start to finish. It went in. Did it go into Games Pass?
It did. It went into Game Pass.
Yeah, okay. And that's how I played it, and I loved every second of it. So, yeah, I did play it. The only problem with these games, though, with the Remedy games, is there's just not a lot of substance past the story, and the story is never longer than, like, I don't know, like 12, 14 hours tops. And then once I'm done with it, even if there's, like, an end game, I'm usually done with it. So, like, I don't know. They're not games I would ever really buy. Jason then said, "I wanted to like Alan Wake, but it was so frustrating." You know what's weird about Alan Wake? I don't remember it being hard. Even Kevin made allusion to it being hard. Of all the things that I remembered it being annoying. Like the story was like this thing that drives you on, but I don't remember it actually being physically difficult. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, though.
I mean, there's some games out there that like I know whenever I played Horizon, I don't know what your like how you felt about the standard difficulty of Horizon was.
Mm-hmm.
Another friend of mine, when he was telling me about it, whenever he was first playing through it, he's like, "Man, it's really tough." I played through the majority of that game on very hard.
Mm. Just
It
because
didn't
it was so
seem.
easy.
It didn't. I mean, it was an adequate challenge on very hard. It wasn't like
Right.
I wasn't like pro MLG, just ripping apart robot dinosaurs. Like it was
360 no
nothing.
scope.
360 no scope. But like I would, like if you know anything about the game, I actively sought out Thunder Jaws and just like try me,
Oh,
bitch.
that's
Yeah,
tough. Yeah.
and I would just get through them decently. I mean, I'd get hit a couple times, sure, but it wasn't anything like getting the floor mopped with me or anything.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think different people have different experiences with games. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Jason then said Squaresoft and Enix were better before they were assimilated into whatever the hell ate them. Fair enough. Kev Tutal then says, I think if EA and Activision burned to the ground, taking all of their subsidiaries with them, we would get a massive growth of small focused development teams making new games. We're not going to talk about this comment here, Kev, because we're going to talk about this later on in our talking point. But good point. Kev Tutal then said, is Borderlands 2 an option? What does that mean? As
I
a
don't know.
remaster. I think he meant as a remaster. A remake
I
or
mean,
remaster.
sure, why not?
Sure, man. It's fucking Fantasyland. You can call it whatever. That'd be an interesting remaster. I don't know exactly what they do with it, honestly. At this point.
Yeah.
I'm sure Phil would know what they should do with it because of how much he played that game. Kev Tutal then says, you can upload the Twitch streams to YouTube later. Yes, I know that. I know that very much. And if you've been watching our YouTube, you know that as well because I've already started uploading some of the Twitch streams to YouTube. It is super easy, which is really nice. I still, it's one of the irritating things about Twitch that it doesn't like save the stuff for very long. I'd like to have a presence there instead of having to move it all over to YouTube. And then William Howuen got in on this one. Nice and quick, though. He says, great episode. I thought you were about to say the answer in life is 42. and then he said, also, hashtag boycott Halo. William, I want you to put your hand in the air right now when you're listening to this. I want you to raise it above your head. And I know, because I can feel that our souls are connected, that you're actually going to do this. And then I want you to just high five me through time and space because my hand is literally in the air right now. Neil can't see it, but it's up. I'm not lying, and I am high fiving because you, my friend, we got. He's on my wavelength. He's on my wavelength, Neil.
I thought
like
you were
this
going
guy.
to say that you were going for a Predator handshake.
A predator handshake?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You mean like the clasp with the fists?
Yeah.
I'll do that with Will. Yeah, definitely. Let's do the predator like clasp and flex. Oh yeah, I do love it. Now let's kill monster. That's the worst Arnold that has ever been uttered. I'm not a good at. My brother does a great Arnold. I don't do a good Arnold. I do a better Macho Man. I do an okay walk-in, and I do Murby. Can do Murby anytime.
Murphy is your own creation. You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah, it
claim
is.
that as an
I
impression.
can claim it. Murby! All right. let's we've done a really long fan interaction. You want to get into our talking point?
Sure.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our talking point. I'm saying our talking point because I don't know that we're going to have a second one today because fan interaction was really long and I have a ton of odds and ends. So there hasn't been a lot of news this week, Neil. Just not a lot of like big news. I think everybody's kind of blown their load to be crude about it, and everybody's out of the big announcements right now. Now we just wait to see how much of what was true. That being said, I figured it would be a good episode to kind of look at an introspective with everything going down. You've got Epic versus Google. You've got the Blizzard lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit that's bringing Activision into this. You've got CD Project Red just dropping the ball every second of every day. I want to know where you think gaming is going to be in 10 years. What do you think is going to come from this? What do you want to happen? And same here. I'm going to do the same thing.
Where to start? So I think one thing that I'll plant my flag in just to kind of start it off, and then we'll kind of go from there, I guess.
Yeah.
I know overall gaming it's all going to be cloud-based.
Ooh.
It's
Not the direction I was planning on you going, but yeah.
It's either going to be all cloud or all digital. I think I've said this before. If not this current generation, the next generation, full generation of consoles, not this, incremental step bullshit that's been going on, is going to be either primarily cloud or diskless. Because that is where they've been trying to herd everyone anyways.
Yeah.
And they've been very gentle with it over the past few years. But I feel like with Sony, having the PS5, the one PS5 console costing less because it doesn't have a disc drive because they can make more money back on digital sales. I think that's like the first sort of step. Or Microsoft with the Series S. That's like a Game Pass box, essentially.
Right.
I think these are steps that are being taken to push people away from physical discs and media and stuff like that.
Right.
I think, I hate to say it, I think everything's going to be some sort of online experience. I don't think they're going to be completely dead, but I think they're going to be on the way out. The single player campaign, roll credits and you're done sort of game. Because I think what's going to happen is gaming companies are going to get too greedier than they already have, honestly. And to the point that, they're going to basically tell us straight up, look, if we can't put microtransactions in games, you're just not going to get them because it's not sustainable for us otherwise. Because they're going to basically point the finger at us and blame us for it. And everything's going to go, even the single player stuff is going to have like daily logins and this, that, and the other. So there's going to be I don't think there's going to be very many true single player experitions left.
See, I think you're thinking 5 years down the road. I'm thinking 10. And I think you're not far enough.
I'm thinking 10. I am thinking 10 because we have things in the pipeline already.
I agree with you on the digital. I 100% agree with you on the digital. That's the way we're moving. That's the way we're going. I think that there's going to be a hard push for that all the way, just because of how spotty internet is in certain places. I think there'll be hangers on to the hard copy for well longer than it matters, but I think you're right on that. What I don't think you're right about is, I think you're right about everything. But what I think you're wrong about is I think the single player stuff that you're talking about, I think that's going to happen in 5 years. And I think that is going to end up helping to be the catalyst to what I feel is going to be 10 years, which is going to be the fall of the AAA game companies. I think you're going to see a lot of these companies go down the tubes. I think because what's going to happen is people are going to eventually get too sick of the microtransactions. They're going to get so upset with that. And they're going to start to migrate even more than they already have. And they already have quite a bit to AA and single A experiences, which is where that single player experience thrives. It thrives there because they're not wasting their time with the graphical fidelity and all these insane upgrades that they don't need. They're just making good games. Period, and putting them out to you, and they're doing it with storylines, and people are going to start to migrate to that a little bit more, especially as the cost of AAA games rise. I don't think anybody's willing to pay regularly $100 for a game. I just don't think they are, and I think that if the companies raise it to that, or they keep raising it, that's where it's going. I think that they're not willing to deal with these live as service all the time sort of things, and I think that it's gonna and you're already in debt with these gaming companies. A lot of these gaming companies are spending more than they can make. You couple that with sexual harassment lawsuits, human rights violations, lawsuits over monetary gains, lawsuits over labor disputes. Like, you couple that with all that stuff, and then, I don't know, I feel that you're going to see a lot of these big companies crash. I don't think there will be a Blizzard in 10 years. That's what I'm saying. I don't think there's going to be a Blizzard. I don't think Activision is going to look anything like it does now. Activision might survive just on Call of Duty alone, but I don't think it's going to look anything like it does now. I definitely think you're looking at the crash for big trash companies like, I don't know, like EA, some of those. I think that they're too big for their own good at this point.
I
And
think
like
with
10
go ahead,
years, sorry, 10 years down the road. I mean, 10 years is a long time in the gaming industry. A long time in the gaming industry. And I think that you're going to see a very different landscape. And honestly, I'm kind of hoping for it. I'm not going to lie. I would love to see the what Kevin was talking about in the fans reaction. The big time growth of those AA companies. I'd love to see them take a crack at it. I think it's time for these companies that have had a lockdown on this AAA games market. And they're selling us a bad bill too. They're telling us what they need to do and what we need to do and all that. They're trying to be our parents while they're making these games, and it frustrates me. They tell us what we should be paying them for a game. That's not the way it works. We tell you what a game's worth to us, not the other way around. That's how consumerism works. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking the crash is gonna start whenever we have no more innovation, because what
We don't have any
we've
innovation
always
now.
Well, no, I'm talking like every so often we get something like an idea that comes along. And
They're
it
all from AA or
reinvigorates.
single A's though. None of them are from the fucking AAA people.
But this is like bringing the lens back and looking at gaming as a whole, because we've kind of
Okay.
established that the AAA can't really. They're not about taking risks anymore. They want those surefire dollars no matter what.
Yeah.
If we hit a point to where there's not anything like PUBG had made the battle royale like the popular thing, and then we had all the battle royales and all the land. Eventually those are going to get stale. If we don't have something else to, like, the next quote unquote battle royale, whatever it may be, some multiplayer gimmick, something along those lines. If we don't have something like that within the next few years, the AAA companies are going to be left with nothing but rehashing everything even more than they already do. And I think it works sometimes because, there's some, granted, like Call of Duty has a new entry every single year, but there's some games that there's enough time between them that they can jump on whatever bandwagon that was.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, it's that thing, but in this.
Right.
Eventually, that cycle is going to pass. And if there's no new sort of development in gaming at that point, be it a service or how we play or whatever that is, I think at that point, that's when people are going to start walking away.
I mean,
And when people start walking away, I mean, the gaming companies have basically told us at this point it's not sustainable with us throwing mountains of dollars at them as it is.
right.
So if people start walking away, then they're really going to be in trouble.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think anybody's really going to start walking away. I don't think we're going to see a gaming crash like we had back with ET. I don't
Yeah.
think that's a relevant possibility. I think it's too ingrained in our psyche. It's too ingrained in the culture of our society. Like, it's going to be around forever. The thing is though is you can only bring on so many people to whatever your product is, and they have no limit on what they keep putting into the product to put it out to people. I'm sorry. Sorry, I've been battling a head cold for like days, and it's just getting me today. But they have been battling train. Okay, they're growing faster than they can bring on people or money. The amount of money they're
Oh, yeah.
spending to do the things that they're trying to do is more than the amount of money they're bringing in. And what's even worse about it is it's more than the demand of the people who are bringing the money in. Like, there's going to come a point in time where I don't think the gamers are going to go away, but there's going to be a point in time when the AAA companies are so big that they can't bring in enough money to feed themselves. And that's when you start to see the decline. As far as the innovation goes, I don't think we're ever going to stop innovating. I think that but all innovations, you look at every significant innovation in gaming, procedural generation, game modes like Battle Royale, or the whole suspicious task-based thing like Among Us, all of that stuff comes from AA, single A. Fuck, PUBG is AA. It's double a game. It's not a AAA game. It never was. It was an independent studio that launched it in early access on the PC. Some people consider it a AAA now. It because what I don't even think Microsoft owns Bluehole. Like they're not called Bluehole anymore. I think they're like PUBG Gaming or whatever. But like
something like that.
They're not AAA. It's not a AAA game. It never was a AAA game. It didn't start as a AAA game. It was an independent studio that launched a thing that got big on like Steam. Like, that's what happened. And, like, that innovation is not going to stop because the AA game companies, that's what they're doing to stay alive, to stay relevant to the AAA companies, is they're the ones that keep innovating game modes. They keep innovating technology. They keep innovating this stuff on the baseline. And you want to know the reason they can do that? And you're right, the AAA games don't like to take risks, but they can't take risks. They literally cannot take risks. They've built themselves into a hole. They have to know the product because the product is so fucking gaudy and gargantuan at this point that, like, they have to know. They have to know what it is ahead of time and what it's going to sell. Whereas the AA people can go, okay, we're going to have a smaller game. We're not going to have the greatest graphics. How do we make this game relevant? How do we make this game innovative? And that's what they're doing. That's how they're doing it. You know what I mean? And I that's my problem. That's where I think it comes in. Personally, though, I think a big crash is going to come from, I think, and I hate to say this, I think the government's going to step in. I really do. I think that, like...
It could.
Because this shit isn't going to go away. Blizzard, especially with the whole Blizzard thing, because right now, because all their employees signed arbitration contracts, like right to arbitrate contracts. We talked about it on one episode,
Yeah.
I talked to my wife about that, and she was like, that's really bad, because... And she's a paralegal who... She's been working in law for some time. She is in mostly title law now, but she went to school for law. She's very well versed in this sort of thing. That kind of stuff locks you down. It locks you down to not be able to like really seek counsel and go outside. So what's going to happen is you end up in this situation where one side keeps saying no, but doesn't have any real standard legal recourse against the other side who is clearly evil. And then that usually sparks a public outcry enough to where the government gets involved. Now, we're not going to get political in this. I try to stay very far away from political. But you add in the fact that our current president is more leaning to a Democratic side, they are more abject to get involved in this kind of shit. So, like, I just think at some point there's going to be an outcry where... Well, there's going to be enough shit on Reddit, basically, where the government's going to step in. And when the government steps in and mandates start getting thrown down, these AAA companies are not going to be able to pivot the way they need to.
Yeah, and even if a company does decide, hey, we're going to change how things are done, it can't be done on a dime.
Right.
It can't be. It is a years-long process to be able to do that.
It's a years-long process for a small 20-person team in a single or a AA company. Imagine what it is for a company of thousands.
Well,
who literally thrive on the stuff that they would mandate against. you know.
Well, we've already seen that happen. I believe it was 2018, 2019. Activision Blizzard, on a record year, fired 800
Yep.
people
Yep.
to make their numbers better.
Yep.
So that stuff's already starting to happen. That growth is just so exponential, unmitigated, and unrealistic to move forward on a sustainable basis that you actually have to have, human capital be lost.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I do want to point out is, you look at the pandemic year, right? Like pandemic last year. And what it's led to this year. I mean, we're still in a pandemic, but I mean, it's just a little bit more. Well, everybody ignores it more now, I guess is the best way to look at it. But you have this situation now where we get to kind of see a preview of what the world would be like without the AAAs, because they really couldn't keep their shit together. Like, we all saw that they kind of couldn't keep their shit together in the in between. So this year, we're not getting a lot of AAA releases. In fact, a lot of them are already being delayed too. So even some of the ones that are still coming out, I'm not so sure they're coming out. And
Right.
So what we've seen is what has been the star of the show this year. It certainly hasn't been the AAAs. They've had one mistake after mistake after mistake this year. Where the success has lied is the AA.
Yeah, we had what was it? Ninja Theory was one of the biggest that kind of coined the AA term, I believe, with Senua's Sacrifice. I mean, granted, now it's exclusive to Xbox and they're now first party, but I mean, it's still, I still feel like that AA is there at heart.
Yeah.
And then indies too. I mean, especially with the rise of things like Steam. The indie scene has grown exponentially. Nintendo
or Games
has
Pass. Games
even
Pass has
that.
been huge for indies, because you could just try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's ease of access and everything. And then, like I was saying with Steam, on the indie scene, like Steam has grown exponentially, and now that's where a lot of these indies start. They start out on Steam, they get noticed by a group, and then, the big companies then start to notice. And then that's when people, good for them, they might get acquired or something like that. But, then they just become another cog in that corporate machine.
Well, and you look at the really successful games this year. Like, what was I mean, other than Nintendo had some successful AAA releases. They had Pokemon Snap. They had Monster Hunter Stories 2. There was some successful drops there. But, overall, every AAA game outside of Nintendo had some sort of fucking crazy controversy with it. Right?
Yeah.
Like all of them had that. So, you gotta wonder, and now we're entering into the busy season, right? This is the season where all the big releases are supposed to come. What's releasing? Nothing's releasing. Like what? Like Call of Duty.
Metroid Dread, Call of Duty,
okay.
And
there's a bunch of Nintendo
Cry
stuff
6.
coming. I don't want to, the Nintendo stuff, yeah. But that's been good. Nintendo has managed their shit really well. I don't want to, as much as I love knocking on Nintendo, I'm not going to knock on them here because they've done their shit. But I mean, outside of Nintendo, so scratch Dread, so Far Cry 6, Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty game, Vanguard or whatever, and then what else? From AAA developers. Riders Republic, okay, that is coming out. You're right about that. But, I mean, and Riders Republic looks okay. I mean, I don't know. I might get NDA'd at this point, but I like the beta. I played it. I enjoyed it. It was a little silly, but I enjoyed it. Nonetheless, those are three. Usually you get what, 8 to 12 in the holiday season?
Something like that.
And I am 100%. Oh, and Battlefield. But Battlefield. Halo Infinite isn't coming out this year, man.
Maybe.
Halo Infinite is not coming out this year. I mean, the multiplayer is. But that's it. Okay, so, alright, let's count it. Let's count Halo Infinite, even though we shouldn't. It's not even close to a AAA game anymore. It's 4 single-A games that are going to release at different times over the next 2 years. But Let's look at the other ones. Far Cry 6, not convinced that's coming out this year. I still think that's going to get delayed. I think that's going to get delayed again. Battlefield 2042. Battlefield is already down to multiplayer only. We talked about that on one show, I think, in an odds and ends. And that just got delayed another month to November. So I'm not sure that's coming out. You got Call of Duty. That'll come out. They always do. They always do. And then you've got, what was the fourth one? Far Cry.
Far Cry 6,
Halo.
Riders Republic.
Riders Republic. Okay, and Riders Republic is probably coming out. So, okay, so you got those 4. But, I mean, I still think 2 of them are going to be delayed out of this year. I mean, Back for Blood is definitely a AA game. It's not a AAA game. So, like, I don't know. We've gotten to see a little preview of what it would be like without a AAA developer, and I'm okay with it. I'm really okay with it. I would love AAA releases to go down. That's for sure. All right, well, we're getting into the weeds on this one. So how about we do this? How about we cap it with what, like, wish list? What do we want to see? One big, huge change. What do we want to see in gaming in 10 years? Like, 10 years from now, what do we absolutely think this has to be here to make gaming good for me?
I don't even know, because originally I mean, well, how it was started to be worded off as a wish list thing that we would hope happens.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope a thing that you hope happens. Yeah. Sorry.
I am hoping that.
Don't question my wording, Neil. God damn it! We've been doing this for 2 years. You should just know psychically what I mean. Like intuit, you son of a bitch.
Intuit. Intuit.
Intuit.
I would hope, I wish, I hope and pray that what is going on with Activision Blizzard leads to some sort of, not even like official unionization, but like, like almost like the ESRB or somebody, like a self-regulation of, okay, we are video games, these are our tenants, do not break these things. Like, if we want to still have crunch be a thing, that's fine. But, like, with crunch, it's always another nightmare horror story. Like, just when you think you've heard the worst of it, no, there's something else. And I feel like it'd be just, like, something to where, like, mandatory crunch is okay as long as it's stated in contract or something like that.
Right.
Some sort of level obvious, rules and regulations. Not even regulations, though. Because like you said, once the government has to start getting involved, that's when shit gets really wonky.
That's when shit gets really wonky. Yeah, somebody needs to step in. I would love it to be somebody other than the government. But yeah, I agree with that one. That's a good one. My wish beyond wish is that it's a twofold wish. Number one, no more fucking announced trailers ever. Don't do them. I want them to be illegal. If the government steps in on anything, I want a law to be passed that you cannot show a trailer for anything without any actual product. Like, it cannot be a smoke show. That's number one. And number two, pre-orders, like making a product available for pre-order over 2 months from the launch date of the product should also be done. We should be done with that. I think it's absolutely disgusting that, and this is a game I'm excited for, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, March 2022, available for pre-orders. Are you fucking kidding me? It's 6 months away. Half a year. I said on Sifu, another game that I'm very excited for. It's fucking February, and that went up for pre-order last month. 6 months, half a year is too long to be able to take people's money for something. That's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I think it borderlines predatory, especially with the way they show the trailers up to it. I think that should be done. Done. No more of that. Pre-orders 2 months before it. I can't buy tickets to a movie 6 months before it comes out. No. You got to fucking limit that shit. Yeah. Okay. So you want to move on to odds and ends? Because we're at 50 minutes. We've done our time.
Sure.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to our, well, I guess final segment, and that's odds and ends. That's where we catch smaller stories that we don't think deserve a full talking point. We just want to riff on. We want to tell you guys about. And honestly, I have a ton, which is why we're probably not doing a second talking point this time. Is I was like, I've got 7, so let's just get into odds and ends. So, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. Go first, and then we'll go from there. Like I said, I have 3 now, so
Okay.
we'll figure it out.
We'll start negative, and this is one that I already touched on before. Battlefield 2042, which is already slated to be just a fucking disaster, has been delayed to November. And man, that franchise has had nothing but shitty years for the last like 6 years. The last 3 iterations of that game, they haven't been able to hit their mark at all.
I remember Battlefield 5 being the last one that I remember hearing something about, but outside of that, I don't know.
Well, and
I
that one was the one that they released the campaign, and it was so because it was like an alternate history of like World
Yeah.
War II, and they had like a cyborg in it or something, so it was kind of crazy. And then, but that was the one that was supposed to have the battle royale, and they delayed the battle royale for 8 months after the release of the game, right? And then they made everybody pay for it again. And like it was like this is terrible. And so the battle royale like came and went because nobody cared about it. And what was even worse is that like some people have been like, this battle royale is really good, but nobody wants to play it because this was fucking dumb. And now you've got Battlefield 2042, which they're like, hey, you didn't like our multiplayer so much last time. We're going to make this game all about the multiplayer. It's only multiplayer. They've said they're going to tell the story, big quotation marks, through multiplayer in this game, which has something to do with climate control, which is insane to me. And yeah, but it's all multiplayer, and now it's being delayed from this month to November, which personally, I don't think it's coming out this year. Just saying.
Yeah, the whole telling a story through multiplayer, that just kind of sucks me right out of everything because you can't really how can you tell a story with that multiplayer being the way it was? Titanfall did
Right.
that.
Yeah,
Titanfall
the original
did that.
one.
That Yeah, the original Titanfall did that, and we're gonna tell you the story through multiplayer only. I get it that people only want the multiplayer.
Right.
If you're just gonna walk away from the campaign, just walk away from the campaign. Don't try to shoehorn it in because the people who want it for the campaign aren't gonna go out of the way to play the multiplayer for the campaign.
Well, and I want to
in
clarify.
multiplayer.
I want to clarify too. We're talking specifically about multiplayer PvP, trying to tell a story through that, because
Yeah.
there are games, whether you like them or not, there are games that tell cohesive storylines with online multiplayer all the time. Back for Blood is going to be one of those games. It has a full campaign to it, and you're going to
Yeah.
be playing with other people. But they didn't even do that. We're talking about them somehow trying to tell a story while you're deathmatching people. Like, the problem with that is you're sweaty. You're trying to get sweaty. You're trying to win the match. You don't give a shit about what an NPC is saying off on the side.
Yeah.
Like no one goes into that kind of a multiplayer thinking, "Ooh, I want to see how this advances the plot." They're going in this trying to win and trying to get their KDA up.
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, there's ways to tell cohesive stories through multiplayer. It's just not through that kind of PvP.
Yeah, not through PvP.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah.
not through PvP.
I mean, hell, I feel Destiny tells at least okay story. You can at least understand what's going on, and that's multiplayer. But like, you can't tell it that way.
Right.
Do you want me to keep going since you only got 3?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. The next one I want to talk about is a weird one, which made me really laugh. So there's this game coming out that's just going to be a train wreck. It's called Star Wars Hunters. It is a game coming out for Nintendo Switch and mobile. mobile phones.
Okay.
It's made by Tencent, if I recall correctly. I'm not
Oh
100%
Jesus.
positive on that, right? But no one knows what this game is. Like, we saw one teaser trailer for it at a Nintendo Direct like 2 years ago. We've just
Mm.
got another trailer. And the trailer is confusing as all hell. I still don't know what this fucking game is because it was like an announced trailer on top of an announced trailer. Because, like, it looks like a battle arena, but then it looks team based. But at the same time, like, is it a MOBA? Is it like a hero shooter? I don't know because they didn't show any gameplay, but they showed some of the heroes fighting each other. And can I tell you what the giggle gave me? What giggle it was?
What?
One of the heroes that is playable in the game is two Jawas standing on top of each other.
That's phenomenal.
That I know.
That's great.
That in itself, I was like, that's worth $50. Like, I want to see how that works. Like, which one throws the grenades? Which one shoots? What happens if one gets shot and the other one doesn't? What is this game? Yeah, so like you can see it just kind of off in the distance, but they're giving you the whole idea of the trailer was to give you kind of like an idea of the heroes that you're going to be playing as in this game, I guess. And like there's a Wookiee that's using two big maces, and there's a Sith Jedi, and then there's this big stormtrooper guy with a big gun, and then there was a Mandalorian type guy, and then out of nowhere, two Jawas on each other's shoulders, like OTD, like run out. I was like, oh man, that is priceless. And I wasn't even sure. I was like, those have got to be NPCs. But IGN broke the story that those will be a playable character. So I don't know. I got to play that game just to see what that is. I'm not gonna lie. I have to. I have to.
Oh,
I
yeah.
have to.
Slowly dying.
Yeah. Do you want to go with one? Or
Yeah, I'll go with
go
one.
for it, just to break it up.
So we talked about it in one of our odds and ends last week. The whole Apple Epic case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It has finally come to a close.
Yeah.
The
I'm
saga
kind of
has
surprised. I
ended.
think it's actually early.
It's yeah. I was kind of surprised that it's over too, and it was very much. It was a very much non-resolution.
Mm-hmm.
So Apple's not allowed to prohibit developers from putting any sort of link to direct people away from the storefront to go buy their own currency. So the whole thing that Epic would, the whole reason they raised the suit was because they weren't allowed to do that.
Right.
So going forward, Apple's not allowed to tell people that they're not allowed to buy stuff from third party or their third party sites off of Apple, that is. But at the same time, Epic still was in violation over the terms of service for Apple.
Uh-huh.
So Epic owes Apple money for a lawsuit that they raised and kind of won ish.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous ending. I mean, personally, I'm
Yeah.
okay. I'm okay with Epic owing Apple money because I don't think Epic. I know a lot of people are like, yeah, Epic fought the power. I don't feel like Epic fought the power at all.
No.
We talked about this when this first started. I feel like Epic needed to drum up support for an update in Fortnite. They wanted to get more people on Fortnite, so they decided to take up a humanitarian cause. I don't think for a second that this was in any way, shape, or form like altruistic. Nonetheless, it's going to result in some altruistic outcomes, which is nice, but I mean, like, if you pick a fight with somebody and it turns out they're a dick, fine. People are going to be happy you beat the dick, but it doesn't excuse you for picking the fight. You know what I mean?
Zach, you just said beat the dick.
Yeah, I did. I'm going to beat some dick. Smack my dick around. Woo!
Oh.
That's the kind of
goodness.
good podcasting stuff you get here. We beat dicks. We beat dicks. That's our T-shirt. That's our first T-shirt. Right?
No. 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 But
okay.
yeah, it's it's a very non-resolution, but
Mm-hmm.
like you said, I mean, it's got some good implications moving forward for a lot of other people. And the same, I'm sure the same sort of stuff is going to apply with Google as well on their storefront for all of their apps as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't recall if Google actually blocks that sort of stuff. So that would require some more research on my end.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's finally over. It's to the most resounding meh the world has ever heard.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So I'm gonna go back into sadness land. Um, everybody who was excited about Dying Light 2
Yeah.
delayed again indefinitely. This game
Wait, it's indefinitely? I thought it was just pushed back to 22.
22 is indefinitely,
Well,
as far as I'm concerned. If you're giving a full year, it's indefinitely. Because you can't give me a month or even like a season, then it's indefinitely. Basically, this game had a release date last year. They were like, we can't make that release date. We got to push it back. We don't know when we're going to be able to release it. This year, they're like, we're going to be able to release it in, I think it was October. I think it was supposed to come out in October, right?
maybe.
And then just now, like I think like 3 days ago, they were like, "Hey, we've got to delay it to sometime in 2022." So again, going back to that, we have no idea when this is coming out. So I don't know who's waiting for that game at this point, but it's gonna be Cyberpunk all over again. It's gonna be a
You
nightmare. I
know
mean,
what? I would feel really bad if the same person who's waiting for Skull and Bones is waiting for this game.
right? That poor guy.
Just wake up one morning, son of a bitch!
Not again! Not again! It always happens to me.
It's gonna come out. It's gonna come out. It's gonna be nowhere near what people want slash thought it's gonna be. It's gonna be a sales failure, and then it's gonna be the next, whatever you want to call it, Cyberpunk, Duke Nukem Forever. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think it's going to be a nightmare. I think it's 100% going to be a nightmare. Okay, so I'll do another one. This
all
one
right.
is a little bit TV news, which kind of threw me off. I don't think you're going to care about this one, but so Netflix has an animated Tomb Raider series coming. That animated Tomb Raider series will pick up where the third game left off, Shadows of the Tomb Raider. So it will take up Lara Croft's story from that point on. What's weird about this is they cast Tomb Raider. It's the same woman who played Agent Carter. I cannot remember her name off the top of my head. I should have written it down. I am sorry, but it's the woman who played Agent Carter. She is voicing Tomb Raider. Now, here's what's weird to me about this, Neil. Here's what's weird to me about this, because I actually love those games. I don't know if you ever played them or even liked them. I don't know.
Never played.
Okay, they're good games. They're really good games. I love them. I mean, the third one was a little weak, but for the most part, I really like them. They're great platformers. They're great stealth action. They got a good story, and they reinvented the character well. The voice of the Tomb Raider in all three of those games was this other woman, and I can't remember her name either. I forgot to write it down. She's on Grey's Anatomy currently, and she was just like, she's British in real life. She does an English accent. I mean, an American accent on Grey's Anatomy, but she's English in real life. And she nailed it. She knocked it out of the park. This was something that really bugged me, is that the movie, they picked a different woman. They picked the Vikander person instead of her. And that movie was heavily based off the video games. And now they literally have an animated show, so not even like the physical appearance of her. And they're again recasting her voice. And I don't understand why. She just knocked it out of the park in those three games. I don't understand why she can't do it. So, kind of bothered me.
Usually that sort of stuff is either money or schedules.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like she's been singled out somehow. Maybe she did something wrong. I think she killed it. I would much prefer to see her in that role, personally. But that being said, we are getting a Tomb Raider series that picks up where the game left off. So any fans of that can look forward to that on Netflix if it's good. Hopefully it's good.
Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna jump in with one. Again, going back to one of the Last week, I had mentioned about Toby Fox having a stream about potentially announcing the release of Deltarune Chapter 2.
Uh-huh.
It is happening. It did. The announcement was had that Deltarune Chapter 2 is being released on September 17th.
Nice.
Tomorrow, as we are recording this.
Nice.
So,
Congratulations, Neil. I know you love those
just
games.
what I find completely bizarre is the fact that the stream was on the 15th and the game will be released on the 17th.
Mm.
2 days. Bam. Just like
Yeah.
that.
That's great.
So,
That's great.
September 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern, it will be available. I have been feverishly checking Steam and it has not been put up yet. So,
Keep
whenever it
that
goes
shit.
up,
Keep that shit going.
it's only going to be on PC and Mac, which kind of sucks because I played through Chapter 1 on the Switch and there is a save import function, so I'm just going to have to play through again.
Okay. All right. Well, congratulations on your impending release.
Thank you.
Is that
I did it.
is that your last one?
No, I have one more.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll go with a couple more then. So Platinum Games recently was interviewed on some things, and they actually said they want to do a Star Fox Zero port. Star Fox Zero being
Uh,
the last mainstream entry to Star Fox on the Wii. They would really like to do a port of that to Switch. Hey, Nintendo, make that happen. That's all I want to say. Make that happen. I'd never played Star Fox Zero. I heard it was okay. I would love a good Star Fox game on Switch. So make that shit happen, man. Make that shit happen.
Star Fox Zero is a rehash of the original Star Fox with bad controls.
Well, then make the controls good.
Yeah, I mean that's all they had to do. The all of the aiming and I believe the flying as well is all gyro.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
no, yeah,
Yeah, fix that
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
But
Fix
I
that,
mean,
fix that shit.
but I mean, Star Fox 64 was just a rehash of the first game.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I think Star Fox 2, the unreleased but now since released Super Nintendo game, was the only actual sequel.
yeah, the only actual sequel. Well, that and that weird one where he was on the dinosaur planet.
Um, no, yeah, Star Fox Adventure, I guess, is
Yeah.
technically chronologically a series, but that wasn't even supposed to be a Star Fox game. That
No.
was supposed to be something completely different.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. So, I don't know. I would love to see a good Star Fox game on Switch. Honestly, I'd love to see, like, anybody do it. Like, give it to a new, like, give it to a different studio. Let them make it. You know what I mean? Like, give us a Star Fox game. We haven't had a good Star Fox game in a while. Reboot that shit.
While we're talking about it, give us an F-Zero, damn it.
Yeah, yeah, give us an F-Zero. Give us what we want, Nintendo. We're just going to bitch at you till you do it.
Well, I mean, they did it with Metroid Dread. It only took them 2 attempts
Yeah.
and multiple years.
Yeah, it's about to say. And they still haven't given you Prime, so.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's another year off, if not more.
One of my last ones is just how excited I am. What? DD2.
Excited in general? You're just excited?
I don't know what that. I don't know what that stands for.
All right.
Why don't
well,
you read your
heard it.
third one while I figure that out?
You heard it here first, folks. Zach is excited. Just excited. That is one of his odds and ends.
Yeah, go ahead
right.
and do one of your last odds
All
and
right.
ends
Well, I just
while
have my
look this
last
up.
one here then. So interesting information. There's been a lot of information surrounding the God of War Ragnarok, but one of the more interesting pieces of information is that Cory Balrog is not going to be directing this one. He's taking a step back, but he was interviewed in regards to God of War Ragnarok, and he said that this Norse mythology series is not going to be a trilogy.
Right.
This second game is going to be the last in the Norse mythos, which is going to be very interesting given the pacing of the previous games in the series. And when asked why exactly that is, he just said that he doesn't want the story to take too long to be told.
Right.
Going back to what we were talking about earlier, I mean, he had said that a given development takes somewhere around 5 years for each game.
Hmm.
The first game took about 5 years, and this game, the Ragnarok, is still, pushing its way through, but they don't want to push it 15 years to tell a story that they
Right.
want to get told. So, I mean, good on them. But it was weird. I wasn't expecting it to just be two games. But we will see what happens if they're just going to tease what mythology they're going to do next, or if this is just going to kind of be it, or if they're going to let God of War rest for a while.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they should let it rest, but I think the game industry really has a hard time letting anything rest. So we'll have to see. We'll have to
Well,
see what they do.
I mean, God of War 2018 was a rest. I think the last God of War came out in 14, 15. So
Yeah,
it was somewhere. It was an okay window, but again,
yeah,
like
but that was not. I like. Well, that's not a rest. 2018 to now is not a rest. Like not for modern day gaming. They
no,
started that the minute it launched.
between the last God of War and 2018, the
Okay,
last one
so
in the
but that's what I'm saying.
previous mythology.
But the previous mythology ended in a very different era in gaming back then. Like you
True.
could like nowadays, I don't see anybody letting a franchise like once they get their dirty claws in something, they're not going to let a franchise go.
Fingers crossed for Egyptian setting.
I like how you're like I don't want them to let it rest. I just want to make a new one.
Oh
with
yeah,
Egyptian
no, I want to fight Raw. I want to fight Raw. God damn it!
Okay, so I read up on what my other one was. I had completely miswrote it, but I loved Darkest Dungeon.
Okay.
It came to Games Pass recently. The original one. It's a great game. It's a procedural generated dungeon crawler. That's all about like mental shit that you have to go through when going through dungeon, and it's just really interesting, kind of cool take on both roguelite aspects, plus procedural generation, and you know how much I love that.
Yes.
Darkest Dungeon 2 has a kind of release date. They announced it just recently that October 26th, Darkest Dungeon 2 will enter early access. So they are going to kind of soft release it. Super excited. I can't wait to see what that studio does with the second game, especially since they've said while it's the sequel in the series, they are very focused on making it its own identity. So a lot of the systems will be very different just to make it different. Like their idea is we want you to feel like you're playing two different games, not just a DLC for the other one. So it's going to be very different from the first one, at least according to them. I'm really interested to see what they do with that.
The first game, it had was it a card system?
No, it's not a
Oh,
card
that's something
system.
else. Something
That's
else I'm
something
thinking of
else.
then.
It is Darkest Dungeon. What you do is you go on these procedurally generated maps. It's side scrolling, which is weird for the maps themselves, but it the one thing I didn't like is the translation of the map to side scrolling is very kind of like once you understand it, it's fine, but until you understand it, you're like, where the fuck am I? But and then you basically hire mercenaries that are procedurally generated. As they go into dungeons, they gain experience, but they also lose health, and they also gain mental stress from going into it. So they can actually become erratic, become schizophrenic, stuff like that. And then what you have to do is each time you do the dungeon, when you come out, you have to manage who you take into the next one. So you have to take the people that you went in with and probably give them some healing, like send them to the bar to get a hooker or send them to the church to pray or something like that to reduce their stress and give them a break while you take other mercenaries in to a different dungeon. And then any character death is final. So like you have this weird like management kind of system while you're also building them up. It's a very, very cool way to do it, very simple, cool way to do it. But that's what Darkest Dungeon is.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah. Huh.
It's in Games Pass, man. I urge
Yeah.
anybody to give it a try. It's very interesting art, very interesting play style, and even if it's not your bag, it's one of those games that it's like you should play. You would never be unhappy with playing it once. You know what I mean? Like even if you walked away from it like this isn't for me, you could still say this was really interesting though. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my final one, I want to end on a super high positive one. Recent Nintendo release, Wario, the WarioWare game came out.
Oh yeah.
It got pretty good reviews, but I just want to say the campaign behind that game is pure hilarious genius. Do you know what Nintendo posted on their Twitter the day it came out?
No.
It was just all caps BWA for the entire character limit. Then they did another reply with more HAHAHA. So just the whole time. And they just put that on their Twitter for the day. They didn't promote the game. They didn't say, "Guess what's out today?" blah blah blah. They just posted Wario's laugh basically as their Twitter feed, which I thought was awesome. But to make it even better, if you buy a hard copy of this game, when you open it, you know how there's sometimes because there's see-through cases.
Yeah.
The inside, so like you can see the inside of the whatever the jacket is just
Yeah.
Wario, a giant picture of Wario picking his nose. So like
Oh
when
yeah.
when you open it, it's just Wario picking his nose next to your little game disc. I loved that. I thought that was just they had so much fun with that release, and I respect that so much more than your obligatory. Guess what? Hot drop came today. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
so much fun, so much fun. The blah ha 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 thing just made me so happy, just so happy.
You know though, I do kind of miss Wario Land.
I never played Wario Land, so
It's all right.
yeah.
It's all right. Yeah, solid platformer. Wario Land 4 for the Game Boy Advance, I think, was the best one.
Well, WarioWare is definitely not a game for me. It's just not a thing that I'm in any way, shape, or form interested in. But I always can have more Wario in my life. Always.
Always.
All right. So you want to wrap this thing up?
Sure.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self-promotion that comes with it. Neil, my friend, anything special you want to plug around?
Why, yes. So we did end up doing Halo Infinite War, and it was a success.
It did good. It did good. Yeah.
Eventually, when it went, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of technical.
It was a technical slog in the beginning, but no, it was fun. We randomly ran into a 343 developer too in one of the multiplayer matches, which was Banana Sandwich.
Banana Sandwich.
But yeah, it was a good time, very much fun. Smaller group, but I don't know. I think it worked out pretty well, and I think after doing that the way that we did, I think that's gonna be how we do Halo Infinite War moving forward.
I'm totally okay with that.
It's just a stream.
Neil is in charge of that show now, and I think now more than ever, Neil understands why I wanted Neil to be in charge of that show and not be in charge of it myself.
Yes, definitely will approach it differently next time because I just kind of set my post out there, and that was about it. I didn't know you had to drag people kicking and screaming in some instances.
I have to drag, dude. Not even to call you out. Every so often, I gotta drag you kicking and screaming into shit. Like I gotta drag everybody kicking and screaming into shit. But not even that. Just the technical issues, and then any map you pick, you're accused of picking it because you know how to fight in it. Like,
whatever.
Yeah, that's it. Just I just get so like, oh my god, I want this to be over.
Well, you know what? No matter what, it was still a blast.
It was a lot of fun.
And this time we got Phil's perspective, right? Philbilly's perspective because he was the one
Yes.
physically streaming it too. So
Yes, we
we
did.
we got to see through a
Yeah.
different lens this
Yeah.
time.
That was really cool. It was really cool to do it. And I think the next time we do it, I'm really excited about this, but the next time we do it, we're going to co-stream it. One from my point of view on Twitch, one from Philbilly's point of view on YouTube. So I think that will be absolutely epic, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially since I found out how easy it is to export from Twitch over. So I'll import mine over, and you'll have literally both versions to watch if you want to.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Okay. So as for me, anything special to plug? What is going on that's special? OMGW, ladies and gentlemen, it's back. It's bigger than ever. I'm still stressing about it at all times until it's all the way done. So just burn a hole in my stomach. I'm not ahead enough. I haven't gotten enough episodes done. But it's. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The premiere episode came out this last Monday. They will be coming out at 2 on Monday, 2 p.m. on Monday. So watch out for that. And I always put them up as premieres. So please, 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 please check that out. You guys have no idea how much work, love, and care I put into that thing. Well, some of you do. But I mean, anybody out there, like, if you know somebody who's even remotely interested in wrestling, please set them up with some OMGW. Because I love doing that show. And then as far as that goes, I think, I want everybody to keep their eyes open for Led Astray. Me and Phil Billy are working on that. We're not exactly sure when it's going to be released because everybody and their brother has been sick lately, so we haven't really been able to get anything recorded. But it's definitely coming. We're definitely going to do that. I really want to play A Way Out start to finish with Phil Billy. I think
Oh, that would
a
be
lot of fun.
interesting.
Especially since I don't think he knows the ending of that game.
Oh yeah.
Which would be even better. Like I want to play it with somebody who does not know how that game ends.
Yeah.
But he listens to this though. Now he's gonna go look at it. Phil Billy, if you're listening to this, don't go look up the ending.
Don't do it.
Please.
You're
It's
doing
not
yourself a
worth it.
disservice.
It's doing yourself a disservice. But yeah, so I don't know. We're definitely gonna play some games with Led Astray. We're definitely gonna maybe do that. I don't know. We gotta get recording, but time is limited. Other than that, we got the normal shows coming out. Halo Infinite Road still going. My reviews, I've got a couple of reviews going up. I think the one directly before this airs will be the new No Man's Sky update I'm going to review. So we've still got that going up. And we've got basically shows every day of the week. Every day of the week. I do want to give a special plug to Twitch. We started a Twitch channel. And I've been streaming on it quite a bit. Like quite a bit. I've also been putting highlights together and putting those highlight packages on YouTube as well. So keep those eyes peeled for that. As well as exporting over my No Man's Stream Twitch specifically on Tuesdays on YouTube. So if you don't want to watch it on Twitch live, you can watch it on the back end on Tuesdays. Tuesday afternoons I'll be posting those. All right, that was a lot of plugs. I'm going to get done now. So you guys can talk to us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below. Please follow us on Twitch, as I already said. That's at OldManGamingDH. And then as usual, guys, as long as you keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next week.
Oh, bye.
I started smoking a pipe. And
The fuck?
I guess I should tell that story, shouldn't I?
You can't just start a story with I started smoking a pipe when that's never been a thing ever.
That's true. I've never smoked a pipe. Well, I started smoking about a month ago, a pipe. Okay, so I smoke occasionally, right? Like we
No.
talked about that. You didn't
No,
know that?
I did not know this.
Well, Melissa's a smoker. You know that, right?
I knew that, yeah.
All right. Well, I'd have a cigarette with her every once in a while, but I'm not like addicted. And that's not like an addict saying he's not addicted. Like I can smoke a cigarette here and there and not care. I also don't inhale. Like I never inhale. So, but I love cigars. I've always been a huge fan of cigars. I love them. They're awesome. It's just smoking a big fat cigar, relaxing. They always taste great. I love them. There are a couple of downsides to smoking cigars, though. Number one, when you cut a cigar, if you don't cut it perfectly, you end up with little pieces of tobacco in your mouth that you have to constantly kind of spit out, which is really irritating. And then also, they're usually really fat, so like you can't just like smoke it quick. Like you can't just like she can't have like 2 smokes at night and me have 1. Or I have to buy these little cigars called the Jarnum Blacks, which are clove cigars, and they're really awesome, but they cost like $1,000 for a pack. They're very expensive. They're very. I mean, it's not 1,000. It's like 8, but still 8 for a 12 pack is insane. So like that's not really something I would do. Well, so the other thing about cigars is the fat cigars are super expensive unless you're getting the cheapest bullshit, which is disgusting, like those Philly things. They're fucking gross. But like actual cigars are anywhere between $6 per cigar to like 80 per cigar. Like they're very expensive. They're premium smoking stuff. So I can't do that all the time. But my wife smokes at night right before bed, and sometimes I like to join her. But she used to roll her own. Right?
Yeah.
The way she'd roll her own, she had a machine in the tubes, but she used pipe tobacco. And just, we've had this half-empty bag of pipe tobacco laying around the house, and I was like, and I was smoking with her more regularly, and I was like, I'm spending so much money on these fucking cigars. I need to find a cheaper way to do this. So I was like, I'm going to go get a fucking pipe, and I'm going to smoke the rest of your pipe tobacco, or try it. Maybe it'll be good, maybe it'll be bad. Right?
Yeah.
So anyway, so I decide to smoke this pipe, right, for the first time. So I go into this smoke shop that she's always used and I've used sometimes. And it's this like, it's one of those like smoker friendly places, and it's always like a Middle Eastern person running it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I go in there, and this guy's very nice. He's a cool dude. I've talked to him many times, but I go in there and I go up to him and I'm like, hey. And this is the thing I didn't understand about pipe smoking is I'm like, hey, can I see your tobacco pipes? And he goes, oh yeah, no problem. Takes me to a different thing. They have their tobacco pipes locked up, which already made me feel special. But then he proceeds to pull out 10 different pipes, right? And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. The supply is very limited at this time. So this is all I have. But of the 10, 3 of them are tobacco pipes. The other ones are glass marijuana pipes, metal marijuana pipes, bong pipes, like all these. And I just look at him, and I look at him, and he's smiling at me, and I was like, I'm gonna smoke tobacco in this. And he just grins at me with the widest grin, and he goes, you can smoke anything in these. And I was like, no, I'm really smoking tobacco in it. And he's like, you can smoke any in these, my friend. And I was like, all right. So I picked out a pipe that looked okay. And then I find myself like nervously telling the story of the pipe tobacco just because I want to convince this guy who does not give a shit one way or the other that I'm not buying this pipe to smoke marijuana out of it. And then I get home and I pack it and I smoke it, and it's wonderful. It's simply the best way to smoke because it tastes like a cigar. It feels like a cigar. It's not as long as a cigar. You can buy a like 2-pound bag of pipe tobacco for like $20, so it's nowhere near as expensive, and you use like 3 pinches of it to actually smoke a pipe, and you don't get any of the shit in your mouth because you're smoking a pipe. The only thing irritating about it is you have to regularly clean out the pipe. That's it. And you have to relight the tobacco repeatedly. But I go outside, I sit on my porch, I pack the pipe, I light the pipe up, and I start to smoke it, and it just hits me. I'm like, no one is going to see this and think I'm smoking tobacco out of it. Everybody is going to see this and be like, that hipster fucker is smoking marijuana on his porch. And I'm not smoking marijuana, but nobody is going to think I'm smoking anything other than marijuana. But yes, I've been smoking a pipe, and it's splendid.